The snow had just started falling when Amelia Wright lost her footing. 1 second, she was a CEO on her phone, negotiating millions. The next, she fell hard into a stranger's lap. Marcus Reed didn't know her name. He only knew the weight of a woman who looked powerful, exhausted, and suddenly human. Steam rose from his spilled coffee. Snow pressed against the cafe window, and in that frozen second, when their eyes met, neither of them knew that one quiet whisper days later would heal wounds they had both spent years hiding. The cafe smelled like burnt sugar and wet wool. Amelia Wright had chosen it because it was exactly 3 blocks from her office, close enough to walk between meetings, but far enough that none of her board members would see her here. She needed 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes without someone needing her signature, her decision, her reassurance that the quarterly projections would hold. The snow had started 20 minutes earlier. First snow of December, the kind that turned the city soft before it turned it gray. Through the window, she watched it gather on the sidewalk, on the shoulders of people hurrying past. Her phone buzzed. Singapore office. She answered while pushing through the door. "The bid is too low," she said, not bothering with hello. "Tell them we'll walk." She didn't see the ice. The threshold between outside and inside had frozen over, a thin glaze invisible under the mat. Her heel caught it mid-step. Her weight shifted wrong. The phone flew from her hand, and then she was falling. Not gracefully, not slowly. The way people actually fall when physics takes over and the body has no time to prepare. She landed hard in someone's lap. The impact knocked the air from her lungs. Her elbow cracked against something solid, a table edge. Her briefcase skidded across wet tile, and underneath her, supporting her weight, was a man who grunted in surprise, his coffee cup clattering to the floor. For 3 seconds, neither of them moved. Amelia's face was inches from his chest. She could smell coffee and soap and the cold that still clung to his jacket. Her brain, usually so efficient at processing crisis, went completely blank. She started. "You okay?" he said at the same time. She pushed herself up, hands bracing against his thighs for leverage, and that's when she actually looked at him. Dark skin, short beard threaded with gray, eyes that were wide with surprise but not unkind. He was dressed simply worn jacket, flannel shirt underneath. A paperback book lay face down on the table beside a laptop that had nearly been knocked over in the collision. "I'm so sorry," Amelia said, standing too quickly. Her ankle protested. She ignored it. "I didn't see the ice. It's okay." He was standing now, too, retrieving napkins, crouching to pick up his coffee cup. The drink had spilled everywhere, pooling around table legs, soaking into his book. "Are you hurt?" No, I'm fine." She wasn't fine. Her ankle was screaming, her elbow would bruise. But she was Amelia Wright, CEO of Wright Technologies, and she had just fallen into a stranger's lap like some kind of clumsy teenager. "Your coffee, let me buy you another one." "You don't have to. Please." She pulled out her wallet, extracted 2 20s. "For the coffee. And the book." "I'm really sorry." He looked at the money in her hand, then at her face. Something shifted in his expression, something she couldn't quite read. "Keep it," he said quietly. "Accidents happen. Really. It's okay." The barista was asking if everyone was all right. Other customers had turned to stare. Amelia felt heat creeping up her neck. She nodded at the barista, retrieved her briefcase and phone from the floor, and limped toward the door without looking back. Outside, the snow was falling harder now. She stood on the sidewalk, breath clouding in front of her face, and realized her hands were shaking. Not from the fall, from the way he'd looked at her when she offered the money. Like she'd insulted him. Like he'd seen exactly what she was, someone who thought every problem could be solved by throwing cash at it. Her phone buzzed again. Singapore, still waiting. She answered and walked back toward her office, leaving dark footprints in fresh snow. Amelia's office occupied the 42nd floor of the Ashton Tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, which tonight looked like a snow globe someone had shaken and forgotten to still. She stood at the glass, one hand pressed against the cold surface, and watched tiny cars navigate white-dusted streets. Her assistant had left an hour ago. The cleaning crew had come and gone. It was just her now, alone in a space designed to impress visitors with its minimalist furniture and carefully curated art. On her desk, 3 contracts requiring signature, 2 strategy reports she hadn't read, and a half-eaten salad from lunch that had gone wilted and sad. She should go home. She didn't want to go home. Home was a penthouse apartment in the financial district, all marble and steel and silence. Beautiful. Empty. The kind of place that appeared in magazines with captions like Urban Sanctuary and Executive Living. She hated it, but she'd never admit that to anyone, not even herself, not really, because admitting it meant admitting that somewhere along the way, while building her company from a 3-person startup to a tech firm valued at $300 million, she'd lost the ability to feel at home anywhere. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Dinner tomorrow? Her brother had texted 3 hours ago. She typed, "Can't. Board meeting prep," then deleted it without sending. Across the city, in a neighborhood where brownstones leaned against each other like old friends and streetlights flickered yellow instead of white, Marcus Reed was doing dishes. The kitchen was small. The sink was older than his daughter. The cabinet doors didn't close quite right, but the window above the sink looked out onto a tiny courtyard where someone had strung lights through a bare tree. And on nights like this, when snow softened all the hard edges, the view felt like a gift. "Dad?" Lily called from the living room. "Can I have more hot chocolate? You've had 2 cups. But it's snowing." Marcus dried his hands on a towel that had seen better years. "One more." Small cup. He found her on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that dwarfed her 7-year-old frame, watching snow collect on the fire escape outside their window. Her lunch was packed for tomorrow. Bath time in 20 minutes. This was his life now. Routines and small negotiations and the constant, gnawing awareness that he was one unexpected expense away from disaster. The bookstore he managed paid enough to cover rent. Barely. The owner, Mrs. Chen, was kind enough not to mention when Marcus occasionally stayed late to use the store's heat instead of his own. Tips helped. Side jobs helped more weekend shifts at the community center. Occasional freelance editing work that paid almost nothing but at least paid something. He didn't complain. Couldn't afford to. Lily came into the kitchen, dragging her blanket. "Is it gonna snow all night?" "Probably." "Good." She leaned against him while he poured milk into a small pot. "I like when it snows. Everything gets quiet." Marcus looked down at her. His daughter, who'd lost her mother to cancer 3 years ago and still sometimes called for her in her sleep, who was brilliant and funny and carried sadness in her eyes that no 7-year-old should have to carry. "Me too, sweetheart," he said softly. Outside, snow continued to fall, and somewhere across the city, in an office tower made of glass and ambition, a woman named Amelia stood alone, watching the same snow, feeling the same kind of quiet that wasn't peaceful, just empty. 3 days later, Amelia ducked into a bookstore to escape the cold. She hadn't meant to walk this far. Her driver was waiting 6 blocks back, idling outside a restaurant where she'd just endured a lunch meeting that could have been an email. But the snow had started again, and something about the restaurant, the forced laughter, the performance of networking had made her feel claustrophobic. So she'd walked, and now she was here, in a narrow bookstore that smelled like old paper and lemon oil, shaking snow from her coat. "We close in 30 minutes. A woman's voice called from somewhere in the back. "That's fine," Amelia said. The store was narrow and deep, shelves climbing toward a pressed tin ceiling. A space heater glowed orange in the corner. Jazz played softly from speakers she couldn't see. It was the kind of place that existed outside of time, immune to the efficiency metrics and growth projections that governed her life. She wandered toward the back, past philosophy and poetry, toward a section labeled Local History. That's when she saw him, Marcus, the man from the cafe. He was crouched beside a bottom shelf, restocking books from a cardboard box. He wore a sweater with a hole near the collar and jeans that had been washed so many times they'd gone soft. His reading glasses had slipped down his nose. Amelia froze. She could leave. He hadn't seen her yet. She could turn around and walk out, and they'd never have to acknowledge the cafe, the fall, the awkward moment with the money. But she didn't leave. "Hi," she said. He looked up. Recognition flickered across his face, followed by something that might have been embarrassment or surprise or both. "Hi." He stood slowly, brushing dust from his knees. The woman from the cafe, Amelia." She stepped closer, extending her hand. "I never properly introduced myself. Marcus." His handshake was brief, warm. "You finding everything okay? Just looking." She gestured vaguely at the shelves. "Manage it, actually. 6 years now." He pushed his glasses up. "How's your ankle?" She'd forgotten she'd been limping that day. "Fine." It was nothing. "Good." An awkward pause opened between them. Amelia, who negotiated million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, found herself unsure what to say next. A small voice, coming from behind the counter. A girl appeared, maybe 7 or 8 years old. Dark braids tied with red ribbons, wearing an oversized sweater and light-up sneakers. She carried a picture book against her chest. "Can I start this one?" the girl asked. "After dinner, Lily." "We talked about this." Lily noticed Amelia. Her eyes went wide with the unfiltered curiosity of children. "Are you a customer?" "I am. Do you like books?" "Lily," Marcus said gently, "let the lady browse. It's okay." Amelia found herself smiling, a real smile that felt strange on her face. "What are you reading?" Lily held up the book. Something about dragons and friendship. The cover bright with watercolor illustrations. It's about a dragon who doesn't fit in because she's different. But then she finds other different dragons and they make a family. Sounds like a good story. It is. Lily looked at her solemnly. "Do you have kids?" "Lily," Marcus said again, more firmly. "I don't," Amelia said. "Oh." Lily considered this. "Do you want kids?" "That's enough questions, sweetheart. Go finish your homework." Lily sighed dramatically but obeyed, dragging her feet back toward the counter. Marcus looked at Amelia with an expression that was equal parts apologetic and exhausted. "Sorry. She's in a phase where she interviews everyone. It's fine." And it was. When was the last time someone had asked her a personal question that wasn't calculated to gain something? "She seems sweet." "She is." His voice softened. "Most of the time." The front door chimed. Another customer, stamping snow from their boots. "I should let you work," Amelia said. But she didn't move, and neither did he. "The local history section," Marcus said, finally. "If you're interested, there's a good book on the neighborhood's architecture. 3rd shelf, blue spine." "Thank you." She found the book. Bought it, even though she'd probably never read it. Paid at the counter where Lily was working on multiplication tables, tongue poking between her teeth in concentration. Outside, the snow had stopped. Amelia stood on the sidewalk, book tucked under her arm, and realized she was still smiling. Amelia came back 4 days later. She told herself it was for another book. She told herself the store was convenient, on the way to nowhere in particular, and the coffee shop next door made decent espresso. She didn't examine why she chose to walk instead of taking her car. The store was busier this time. A reading group occupied the back corner. Elderly women discussing a mystery novel with passionate intensity. 2 college students camped at a small table, textbooks spread like battle plans. Marcus was at the register, helping a customer. He saw her enter and nodded. a small acknowledgement that felt oddly significant. Amelia browsed. She ended up in the poetry section, which surprised her. She hadn't read poetry since college, but something about the store made her want to slow down, to remember what it felt like to read something without checking her phone every 3 minutes. "That's a sad one," a small voice said. Lily had materialized beside her, quiet as a ghost, looking up at the book in Amelia's hands. "How do you know?" Amelia asked. "The author died young, Dad told me." Lily tilted her head, studying Amelia with disconcerting directness. "Why do you look tired?" "Lily." Marcus had appeared, carrying a stack of books. "What did we say about personal questions? You said I can't ask about people's weight, or their money, or their relationships." Lily ticked off the rules on her fingers. "I didn't ask any of those things. Tired counts as personal, does it?" Lily looked genuinely confused. Amelia surprised herself by laughing. "It's okay. I am tired." "Why?" Lily asked immediately. "Work." "What kind of work?" "I run a company." Lily's eyes went wide. "Like a boss?" "Like a boss. That's so cool." She paused. "But also that's why you're tired, probably." "My dad gets tired from work too, but he says it's a good tired because he's taking care of me." She looked at Amelia seriously. "Are you taking care of someone?" The question landed with unexpected weight. Amelia opened her mouth, closed it. She wanted to say yes, that she was taking care of her employees, her shareholders, her family's legacy. But Lily was 7 years old and looking at her with eyes that somehow saw past all the careful words adults use to lie to themselves. "I don't know," Amelia said quietly. "Oh." Lily absorbed this. "That's sad." "Lily," Marcus said. "Enough." "It's okay," Amelia said again, though her chest felt tight. "She's right. It is a little sad." Marcus met her eyes over his daughter's head. Something passed between them, recognition, maybe understanding. "Do you want to sit down?" Lily asked. "We have chairs in the back. Dad can make you tea. He makes really good tea. I don't want to impose." "You're not imposing if I'm inviting you," Lily said with the iron logic of childhood. "That's different." Amelia looked at Marcus, who shrugged helplessly. "She's not wrong," he said. So Amelia found herself in the back of the store, in a tiny office that was more closet than room, drinking chamomile tea from a chipped mug, while Lily explained the plot of her dragon book in exhaustive detail. Marcus worked nearby, processing invoices on an ancient computer. Occasionally, he'd interject with a gentle correction. That happened in Chapter 3, not 4. Sweetheart, but mostly he just let Lily talk. It was the most peaceful hour Amelia had spent in months. When she finally left, pulling her coat tight against the winter evening, Lily called after her. "You should come back," the girl said. "You smile more here." Amelia paused at the door. "Do I?" "Yes," Lily said simply. "Way more." The meetings became routine over the next 2 weeks. Not planned, not formal. Just a pattern that emerged like snow accumulating, one flake at a time, until suddenly there was depth. Amelia would find reasons to be in the neighborhood. A client meeting that ended early. A lunch spot she wanted to try. Errands that weren't really errands. She'd stop by the bookstore. Sometimes Marcus was free, sometimes he wasn't. But when he was, they'd talk. At first, the conversation stayed surface level. Books they'd read, the weather, local politics, safe topics that didn't require vulnerability. But slowly, carefully, the way ice melts under sunlight, they started sharing actual pieces of themselves. It happened in fragments. One afternoon, sitting in a park 2 blocks from the store while Lily played on snow-covered equipment, Marcus mentioned his wife. "Cancer," he said quietly, watching Lily climb. 3 years ago. Stage 4 by the time they found it. Amelia didn't say, "I'm sorry." Even though the words pressed against her teeth, sorry felt inadequate, a thing people said because they didn't know what else to offer. Instead, she said, "That's unfair." Marcus glanced at her, surprised. "It is," she continued. "It's deeply, completely unfair. And I bet people told you it was part of some plan, or that she's in a better place, or some other useless platitude that made them feel better, but didn't help you at all." A long pause. Then Marcus laughed a short, startled sound. "Yeah, they did. All of that. People are terrible at grief," Amelia said. "They want to fix it, make it neat. But some things don't get fixed. They just become part of who you are." He looked at her differently after that. Another day, walking through the neighborhood while Lily was at school, Marcus asked about her family. "My father built the company," Amelia said. "Started it in his garage with 2 other engineers. By the time I was 10, we had 50 employees. By the time I was 25, we were a household name." She stopped walking, looked at a brownstone with Christmas lights strung crookedly across its front. "He left it to me in his will. Not to my brother, who never wanted it. To me, who'd spent my whole childhood watching him sacrifice everything for it. Do you regret taking it?" "No." The answer came quickly. Then, more slowly. "Sometimes. I don't know, I'm good at it. But I'm not sure that's the same as wanting it." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Lily asked me once if I liked working at the bookstore. I told her yes, which is true. Then she asked if it was what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I realized," he stopped, "I realized I don't know what I wanted anymore. I just know what I have to do." Amelia felt something shift in her chest. "That's it exactly," she said. The conversations deepened. Marcus told her about the scholarship fund he'd set up in his wife's name, how he donated to it every month, even when money was impossibly tight. Amelia told him about the anxiety that woke her at 3 in the morning, the weight of making decisions that affected hundreds of lives. He told her about the fear that he wasn't enough for Lily, that he was failing her by not being 2 parents. She told him about the loneliness of being powerful, how people smiled at her but nobody actually saw her. They didn't offer solutions to each other, just presence, just listening. One evening, leaving the store after closing, Marcus walked her to where her driver waited. The snow was falling again, thick and steady. "Thank you," Amelia said. "For what? For not treating me differently." She paused. "When people find out what I do, they either want something from me or they're intimidated. You're neither." Marcus considered this. "Maybe that's because, when we met, you literally fell into my lap. Hard to be intimidated after that." Amelia laughed a real laugh, the kind that came from her stomach. It was the best sound she'd made in years. The invitation came 3 weeks before Christmas. "Winter Gala," the embossed card read. "Benefiting Children's Medical Research Foundation." Amelia almost threw it away. She hated these events, the performance of charity, the networking disguised as philanthropy, the way everyone smiled with too many teeth and calculated the value of every conversation. But this one was important. Her company was the primary sponsor. Her absence would be noticed, discussed, weaponized by board members who already thought she was too isolated, too difficult. She stared at the invitation for a long time. Then, before she could overthink it, she called Marcus. "This is going to sound strange," she said when he answered. "Okay, I have an event, a gala thing. Very formal, very boring. And she stopped, started again. Would you want to come? As my guest?" Silence on the other end. "You don't have to," she added quickly. "I know it's not your scene. I just thought, I don't know what I thought." "Forget," I asked. "What's the dress code?" Marcus said. "Black tie. I don't own a tux." "That's okay. I can." She stopped herself before offering to buy him one. "We can figure it out." Another pause. Then, "Okay. Yeah." She could hear the smile in his voice. "Might be interesting to see your world." The night of the gala, Amelia's driver picked up Marcus from his apartment. She met him in the hotel lobby, and when she saw him, something in her chest tightened. He wore a rented tuxedo that fit well enough but looked uncomfortable on him. His shoes were polished but old. He'd shaved, trimmed his beard, but he still looked like exactly what he was, a man from a different world, trying to navigate hers. "You look terrified," she said gently. "I am absolutely terrified," he admitted. "Want to leave now?" He laughed. "I didn't get all dressed up to run away." The ballroom was exactly what Amelia expected. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, servers carrying champagne on silver trays. 200 people in expensive clothes, performing wealth and importance. She saw the looks when they entered, subtle, but there. Eyes flicking from her to Marcus, calculations being made, conclusions being drawn. Marcus saw them too. His jaw tightened. "Amelia," a board member appeared, all white teeth and cologne. "Wonderful to see you." "And this is?" "Marcus Reed," Amelia said smoothly. "Marcus, this is Jonathan Brennan, one of our board members." Jonathan's handshake was perfunctory. His attention was already moving past Marcus, dismissing him. "We need to discuss the Q4 projections," Jonathan said to Amelia. "I'll find you later." He walked away without another glance at Marcus. It got worse from there. Throughout the night, Amelia watched people interact with Marcus. Polite, but distant, dismissive. Some assumed he was her driver. One woman asked if he'd brought her coat. Another man, drunk on champagne, asked Marcus what he really did for a living. The implication clear and insulting. Marcus handled it with more grace than they deserved. But Amelia saw the way his shoulders tensed, the way his smile became fixed. At one point, trapped in conversation with a hedge fund manager who kept steering the discussion back to returns on investment, Amelia felt Marcus touch her lower back, gentle, steadying. She turned to him. "I need some air," she said. Loud enough for the hedge fund manager to hear. Outside, on a terrace overlooking the snow-covered city, they stood alone. "I'm sorry," Amelia said. "For what?" "For them. For bringing you here." She gestured back at the ballroom. "All of it. You didn't do anything wrong. They were horrible to you." Marcus leaned against the railing. "I've experienced worse. But yeah, it wasn't great." He looked at her. "Is that your life? All the time? Most of it? That's exhausting." "It is." She stood beside him, close enough that their arms touched. "You want to know something? I've been going to these things for 15 years, and tonight, watching them treat you like you were invisible, I've never been more ashamed to be part of this world." "Don't be ashamed," Marcus said quietly. "Be angry." She looked at him. "You should be angry," he continued, "at the system that creates this, at people who measure worth by job titles and bank accounts. But don't be ashamed. You're better than they are. I've seen it." Something broke open in Amelia's chest. She turned to face him fully. "You're the first person in years who's made me feel like I'm not just a position, a role. You see me." "I do see you," Marcus said. "And what I see is someone who's been holding up the world so long, she forgot she's allowed to put it down sometimes." The snow started falling, and in that moment, surrounded by cold and silence and the distant sound of the gala continuing without them, Amelia leaned forward and kissed him. The kiss was not graceful, not planned, not the kind of kiss that happened in movies, with perfect angles and swelling music. It was desperate and clumsy and real, Amelia's lips cold from the winter air. Marcus, frozen for just a second in surprise before he responded. His hands came up to her shoulders, steadying her, or maybe steadying himself. When they broke apart, their breath clouded between them. "I'm sorry," Amelia said automatically. "Stop apologizing." Marcus's voice was rough. "You didn't do anything wrong. I didn't plan." "Neither did I." He was still holding her shoulders. "But I'm not sorry it happened." The city stretched below them, all lights and snow and possibility. "I'm scared," Amelia said. The words came out small, nothing like the voice she used in boardrooms. "Of what?" "Of this. of wanting this. She looked at him. I don't know how to do this, Marcus. I don't know how to be with someone without calculating the cost, the risk, the exit strategy. I've spent 15 years building walls, and you walked right through them. You think I'm not scared? Marcus's hands slipped from her shoulders to her hands, holding them between his own. Amelia, I'm terrified. I'm a single father who barely makes rent. He gestured back at the ballroom. You're in a different stratosphere. This makes no sense. No, she agreed. It doesn't. They stood there, hands clasped, snow gathering on their shoulders. But I'm tired of pretending I'm okay, Amelia said. I'm so tired of being strong and competent and fine. When I'm with you, I don't have to pretend. I can just be. Marcus's thumb traced circles on her palm. When Sarah died, I thought that was it for me. One great love, over. I'd focus on Lily and work and survival, and then you fell into my lap in a coffee shop, and I thought it was just a weird moment. But then you kept coming back, and every time you did, you were a little less CEO and a little more just Amelia. And he stopped, started again. I want to know that, Amelia. The one who doesn't perform. The one who's tired and scared and real. She's not very impressive, Amelia whispered. She's impressive as hell, Marcus said. Just not in the ways you've been taught to measure. The snow was falling harder now. Inside, someone was giving a speech. Applause filtered through the windows. What do we do now? Amelia asked. I don't know. Figure it out as we go? I'm not good at that. I plan everything. I've noticed. He smiled. So this'll be good for you. Spontaneity. This is insane. Probably. We're from completely different worlds. We are. This is going to be complicated. Definitely. Marcus pulled her closer. But here's what I know. When Lily asked me to describe what love was, real love, not the fairy tale stuff, I told her it was choosing someone every day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. It's seeing all their messy parts and staying anyway. That's a lot of pressure, Amelia said, but she was smiling. It is. But here's the thing about pressure. He touched her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. You've been handling it your whole life. The difference is, with this, you don't have to handle it alone. Amelia closed her eyes. When was the last time someone offered to share the weight instead of adding to it? She couldn't remember. Okay, she said. Okay? Okay. Let's be scared together. Marcus kissed her again, softer this time, and the snow fell around them like grace. The first week of January, everything collapsed. Not dramatically, not with warning, just the way things actually fall apart quietly at first, then all at once. It started with a lawsuit, a former employee claiming intellectual property theft, demanding $20 million in damages. The claims were baseless, but the timing was surgical. 2 investors got nervous. The stock price dipped. Board members started circling, sharks sensing blood in the water. Amelia spent 70 hours that week putting out fires. She missed 3 calls from Marcus, canceled 2 plans to see him, sent short texts that said, sorry, work emergency, and nothing else. By Friday, she hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night in 5 days. Her assistant found her in her office at 2 a.m, still working. You need to go home, Karen said gently. I need to finish this. Amelia, you're not even reading anymore. You're just staring. She was right. The words on the screen had stopped making sense an hour ago. Amelia drove home in the dark, showered, tried to sleep, stared at the ceiling instead, her mind spinning through scenarios and strategies and all the ways this could get worse. At 4 a.m, she got up and went back to the office. Marcus texted on Saturday. Everything okay? Amelia stared at the message for 5 minutes before responding. Yes. Just busy, which was true, and completely inadequate. Sunday evening, Lily asked where Amelia was. She's working, sweetheart, Marcus said. Still? She's been working forever. She has an important job. Lily frowned, the way she did when she was working through a puzzle. Is she mad at us? No. Why would you think that? Because she stopped coming to visit. Marcus didn't know what to say to that. The truth was, he'd been wondering the same thing. Amelia's texts had gotten shorter, less personal. The warmth had drained from them. He recognized the pattern, the slow fade, the gradual pulling away. He'd seen it before, in the months after Sarah's diagnosis, when friends found reasons to be busy, uncomfortable with grief's messiness. But he'd thought Amelia was different. Maybe he'd been wrong. By the middle of the second week, the lawsuit was settled. The investors calmed. The stock price recovered. Crisis averted. Amelia sat in her office and felt nothing. No relief. No satisfaction. Just an emptiness that had been growing for days. She picked up her phone, started to text Marcus. Put the phone down without sending anything. What would she say? Sorry I disappeared. Sorry I'm exactly who you probably thought I was, someone who runs when things get complicated. Someone who can't balance her own life. She imagined him with Lily, making dinner in their small kitchen. Imagined them laughing about something, the warm domestic scene she'd briefly been part of. She didn't belong there. She never had. It had been foolish to think otherwise. Foolish to believe that coffee shops and bookstores and kisses in the snow could bridge the gap between their worlds. Amelia closed her laptop, gathered her things, and went home to her empty penthouse. Marcus waited 3 more days before he stopped checking his phone for messages that didn't come. Lily noticed. Did Amelia find a different bookstore? Maybe, honey. That's sad. I liked her. Me too, Marcus said quietly. That night, after Lily was asleep, he sat at his kitchen table and thought about the gala. The way Amelia had looked, standing on that terrace, powerful and fragile at the same time. The way she'd kissed him, like she was trying to communicate something she didn't have words for. He thought about calling her, then thought better of it. If she wanted space, he'd give her space. He wasn't going to chase someone who'd decided he wasn't worth the effort, even if it hurt. Even if Lily asked about her every day. Even if he missed her in a way that surprised him with its intensity. He'd survived worse losses. He'd survived this too. Amelia showed up at the bookstore on a Thursday afternoon. Marcus was shelving books in the history section when he heard the door chime. He glanced up automatically, the way he always did. And there she was. She looked terrible. Not in the way powerful people usually looked when they slipped, still polished, just tired. No, Amelia looked genuinely wrecked. Her coat was buttoned wrong. Her hair wasn't styled. She had shadows under her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. She saw him and stopped. For a long moment, they just stared at each other across the store. Then Amelia said, very quietly, "I'm sorry." Marcus put down the books he was holding. "You don't need to apologize. I do. I disappeared. Everything fell apart, and I didn't know how to." She stopped. Swallowed hard. "I didn't know how to be both. The CEO handling a crisis and the person who was trying to be with you. So I chose the crisis, because that's what I always choose. Amelia, let me finish." Her voice was shaking now. "I've spent 2 weeks convincing myself this was a mistake. That you and Lily were a nice fantasy. But fantasy isn't reality. Reality is my world. The lawsuits and the board meetings and the endless pressure. I told myself I was protecting you from that. But the truth is, I was protecting myself." She looked at him with eyes that were too bright. "I was protecting myself from having to admit that I needed you. That when everything was falling apart, the only thing that would have helped was calling you. But I couldn't, because needing someone terrifies me." Marcus walked toward her slowly. "Where's Lily?" Amelia asked suddenly, looking around. "School. Won't be back for an hour." "Oh. Good, because I'm probably going to cry, and I didn't want." She didn't finish the sentence, because she was already crying, tears running down her face, her carefully controlled composure finally cracking completely. Marcus closed the distance between them and pulled her into his arms. Amelia collapsed against him. not gracefully. Not like someone who knew how to accept comfort. Like someone who'd been holding herself together through sheer force of will and had finally run out of will entirely. "I've got you," Marcus said quietly, one hand stroking her hair. "I'm so tired," she whispered into his chest. "I'm so tired of being strong, of having all the answers, of pretending I'm fine when I'm not fine at all. I know, I can't do this alone anymore. I thought I could, but I can't." Marcus guided her toward the back of the store, to the small office where he and Lily spent their afternoons. He sat her down on the ancient couch there, settled beside her. "You don't have to do it alone," he said. "But I don't know how to do it any other way. Then you'll learn. We'll figure it out." Amelia looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. "Why aren't you angry? I ignored you for 2 weeks. Because I understand." Marcus took her hand. "When Sarah was dying, I shut out everyone. My family, my friends, everyone. I thought if I just focused on taking care of her, on being strong enough for both of us, I could somehow will her back to health. It didn't work, and after she died, I realized I'd isolated myself so completely that I didn't know how to let anyone back in. So what changed? Lily. She needed me to learn, and slowly I did. But it took time, and it took people who were patient with me." He squeezed her hand. "You can be imperfect, Amelia. You can fall apart. You can need help. Listen to me." He moved closer, his voice gentle but firm. "You are allowed to be scared. You are allowed to need support. You are allowed to not have everything figured out. Here, with me, you don't have to be the CEO. You don't have to be strong. You can just be tired and messy and human." Amelia closed her eyes. When she opened them again, fresh tears fell. "I don't know how," she said. "That's okay. We'll start small." He pulled her closer. "Like right now. Right now, you're going to sit here and breathe and not think about board meetings or lawsuits or anything except this moment. Can you do that?" "I can try." "Good. That's all I'm asking." They sat together in the quiet office while afternoon light filtered through dusty windows. Amelia's breathing gradually steadied. The tension in her shoulders slowly released. After a long time, she said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up on me." Marcus pressed a kiss to her temple. "I'm not going anywhere." The door chimed out front, small feet running. "Dad!" Lily's voice called. "I'm home." Amelia started to pull away, to wipe her face, to put herself back together. Marcus held her hand. "You don't have to hide. Not from her, not from me." Lily appeared in the doorway, backpack sliding off one shoulder. She saw Amelia and her face lit up. "You're back." Then, noticing the tears, "What's wrong?" "I'm okay, sweetie," Amelia said, voice thick. "Just a hard day." Lily walked over, climbed onto the couch between them, and leaned against Amelia with the uncomplicated sympathy of children. "Dad says hard days are better when you're not alone," she said seriously. "That's why we always have dinner together even when we're sad." Amelia looked at Marcus over Lily's head. He smiled. "Your dad's pretty smart," Amelia said. "I know," Lily said. Then, "Are you going to stay for dinner, if that's okay? It's spaghetti night. We always have spaghetti on Thursday." "Then I'd love to stay." February arrived with more snow. The city braced itself for another month of cold, of gray skies and slush-filled streets and the particular exhaustion that came from winter that wouldn't end. But something had shifted for Amelia. She still worked long hours, still handled crises and board meetings and impossible decisions. The lawsuit was settled, but had left Scar's investor relations to repair, company morale to rebuild, strategic pivots to navigate. Her life was still difficult. The difference was she stopped pretending it wasn't. She had dinner at Marcus and Lily's apartment twice a week now. Simple meals, pasta, roasted chicken, meals that were stretched to feed 3 instead of 2. She sat at their small kitchen table and listened to Lily talk about school and helped Marcus with dishes and felt something in her chest loosen. Some evenings, after Lily was asleep, she and Marcus would sit on the couch in the dark living room, sharing the weight of their respective days. He told her about difficult customers and mounting bills. She told him about board politics and the pressure of decisions that affected hundreds of lives. They didn't solve each other's problems. They just listened, and somehow that was enough. Marcus started visiting her world too, slowly. Not the galas and fundraisers, they both agreed those were torture, but the small things, meeting her for lunch near her office, attending a company event where she was receiving an award, standing beside her at a memorial service for her father on the anniversary of his death. He didn't try to fit in, didn't pretend to belong. He was simply present, a steady hand at her back when the world felt too loud. Her board members didn't know what to make of him. Amelia discovered she didn't care. One Sunday morning, Lily asked if Amelia wanted to go ice skating. "I'm terrible at skating," Amelia admitted. "So?" "Dad's terrible too. That's what makes it fun." So they went to the public rink in the park, rented skates that had seen better decades, and wobbled onto the ice together. Amelia fell within the first 3 minutes. Marcus helped her up, laughing. Lily executed a surprisingly graceful spin and then immediately wiped out, giggling. They skated for an hour, if skating was the right word for what they were doing. Mostly they clung to the wall and to each other, falling and laughing and getting back up. At one point, Amelia found herself standing at the center of the rink, watching Marcus chase Lily in circles. The sky was white with snow. The city sounds felt far away. Her toes were numb in her rented skates. She was happy, not the careful, controlled happiness she'd cultivated for years. Not the satisfaction of a successful deal or a problem solved. Just happy. Simple and uncomplicated and real. That night, back at her penthouse, which slowly felt less empty, as Marcus and Lily left traces of themselves in it. Lily's drawing on the fridge. Marcus's book on the coffee table. She sat at her kitchen counter working on a contract. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus, thank you for today." Lily's still talking about it. Amelia smiled. "Thank you for teaching me how to fall without being afraid." A pause. Then, "That's what you do for people you love. You catch them." Amelia stared at the word love on her screen. They hadn't said it yet. Not out loud. But it was there, growing between them like something tender and inevitable. She typed, "I love you too." Then, before she could overthink it, she hit send. The response came immediately. "I know. I've known since you fell into my lap." Amelia laughed out loud, alone in her kitchen, and realized how good it felt. Winter would last another month at least. The snow would keep falling. Work would stay difficult. Money would stay tight. Life wouldn't suddenly become easy just because two people found each other in the cold. But Amelia had learned something crucial in the months since she'd slipped on ice and fallen into a stranger's arms. You didn't need life to be easy. You just needed to not face it alone. And she wasn't alone anymore. None of them were.